We're live. Hey guys, long time no see. Thanks
Hey,
for coming
everybody.
back in today.
Thanks for hosting this so we could all join.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be a fantastic conversation. How could it not be with such beautiful souls joining me today? I'm so honored to be joined by all you guys and seeing all these beautiful, beautiful souls in the chat as well. We've got Wanda, Peggy, Penny, Stu, Ichabod, Shelly, Melissa. Oh, you guys are awesome, Barb. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So yeah, just to do a little quick introduction. So this was the brainchild of JoAnne bringing this forward, but it's been a topic that's been on a lot of people's minds and hearts as far as what we do within our relationships within this awakening time as we come into terms with the truth and how it might um, seem to create division in some senses, but in actuality we can lean into this in a way to where we can still be expanding our own personal journey harmoniously and being at peace with how it flows with those around us. So it's going to be a beautiful conversation, and yeah, I'm excited to get into it. And I think it's really important that we all start, continue to share our own experience vulnerably, because it really helps to share that with others and give a good perspective on things that we go through, because you never know who else it might help when we share that kind of stuff. So with that, I will kind of hand it over to we'll just kind of go around the room and introduce ourselves and say, anything that you feel called to share, and then we'll get the conversation going. So Aaron, I'll start with you. Welcome, brother.
Hey, brother. Yeah, hey, everybody. Glad to be here. It is a topic that a lot of us are going through. I guess you would say everybody in one way, shape, or form, whether it's a personal relationship with your wife or your parents or even your siblings or even coworkers if you're still, working and doing all that other stuff. And it really integrates with everything as we come into this truth and find ourselves. We just got to be clear. So um, that's it. So I just want to say hi to everybody and get this thing going.
Beautiful. Thanks, brother. JoAnne, how about you next?
Yeah, sure. I love this topic because there's just so many places you can go with it and so much you can learn. I think our relationships can teach us so much about ourselves and force us to go within and grow, do the work inside. And yeah, I'm glad that a lot of people could join us who everybody has a different perspective. There's no one right or wrong way to go about this. Sometimes your relationship is meant to grow together, sometimes it's meant to grow apart, and it's all perfect because everybody needs something different. So for some people, their challenge might be letting go of that person. Other people, their challenge might be sticking with that person and working through it, and it's all for happening for us, for our growth. And just getting those different perspectives can help us when we're blocked a little bit. So I hope today can help shed some light for people who are struggling, because I know I've been there. It can be a huge struggle. So yeah, we're in this together and we'll help each other out the best we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And Ichabod even brought up the point, relationship with yourself, and by strengthening our relationships with others, or at least seeing our relationships as others as a representation of the relationship with self, and the representation of the relationship with God. It's all one and the same. So it just helps to kind of like have these experiences so that we can continue to learn and grow, see the mirror that others provide within us, and learn from it. So yeah, beautifully said. Thanks, JoAnne. Patrick, thanks for joining us here today. What have you got for us?
Yeah, really thankful to be here and see you all also in the chat again. And yeah, I've been through a lot within my relationships, and so I was happy for the invitation, and would love to join, and yeah, ride a wave together.
Beautiful. Thanks, Patrick. We're so glad to have you here. All right, Mark.
Hi. Yeah. Well, I've felt isolated ever since the start of the lockdowns because it felt like, apart from a few people online, I was the only one who could see what was going on. And I only found out about Charlie and what he teaches about last Christmas, and that was an absolute godsend. So I've learned a lot in a very short space of time, and I reached out to JoAnne recently about my relationship with my wife, and we got talking. She invited me onto this, and I mean, this group, just listening into all that you do has been wonderful. Really needed. It really kept me going through all this. So appreciate all you do.
Thanks, brother. We're so glad to have you. So glad you could join us. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, so grateful. All right, Patricia. Welcome.
Thank you, Brother Justin. Thank you. Thank you, JoAnne, also for inviting me up. And I'm nervous, but I'm here to show up and to be a part of the family, so I can introduce myself and exercise my throat chakra. Appreciate that. Yeah, I've been through. We've experienced a lot of the different relationship changes in the last few years, especially the last year of my awakening, like back in March, and not last March, a year 2020, and especially with all of the information that has come to me through other sources, and especially different videos I've watched through Charlie and Josh, and it was quite the wow awakening again and again. Like hearing the truth was just, oh wow, knowing that I have to relearn everything, and I especially with the relationship with myself, and knowing with all the relationships I have been in the past, it was like, oh my God, he's so right about, you need to be at least 300 years before you get into a relationship. I'm like, wow, I was never given a manual growing up, right? And so that's from, from intimate relationships to relationships, friendships, like all of that has been changing the last year. And my work relationships, what the corporation relationship, everything has been like, I would say kind of crumbling, but in a beautiful way, if that makes any sense. And now I'm here. I feel like I'm here to learn all over. I'm flatlining. I want to receive. I just have that humility just to embrace truth today. So thank you.
Beautiful, Patricia. Yeah, it does. You speak of like the baptism of fire, where it is everything's crumbling, everything's burning away, and then it's strengthening what remains, what continues to serve us, and it makes that bolder and brighter. But it's that trust of letting go and trusting that it's all going to work out as it needs to. So yeah, thank you for sharing, and thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. All right, Annie.
Hey guys, thanks for having me, Justin.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm a bit of a veteran at this topic, and I'm not sure if I should be proud of that or not. But relationships and awakenings and the many incarnations, we have in a lifetime, and how we move through our partnerships with others and our work, all the relationships we have. So I was really inspired by the topic that I saw come out on the Telegram, which is why I reached out to you, because it's a place I've been often, and I've talked to a lot of women mostly about my journey through this, and it's had its difficulties, and it's also a really beautiful experience to go through these awakenings and watch the things that shed and we leave behind and the things that come along with us. And it just gets more and more refined over time, you know, and this distillation process of becoming like the mist, you know, is quite a thing. So I'm happy to be here and just share from my own experience, because that's what I have to share from, and just glean from everyone else's as well. So thank you all.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, so we've got everyone here. So I've figured the best way is just to open it up, and we can go if anyone's got a particular thing, a personal thing they want to share, or a question that you want to pose to the group. We've all got different realms of experience in the matter. So whatever comes to your heart. Does anyone have any particular aspect they want to dive into first?
I think the topic I was going with that I've seen a lot in the chat is people wanting someone to wake up who's not awake, whether that awakening is a spiritual awakening or awakening to health, veganism, politics, what's going on in the world. You know, some people I know are awake about what's going on in the world, but they have no concept spiritually, and that can be a challenge. Or they're awake, you know, on some level spiritually, but they have no idea about what's going on in the physical world. And it's causing a lot of suffering for people because they just want to shake these people or smack them, or they're feeling frustrated or angry. Like, why can't we get on the same page? I just want us to be in agreement and to see the world in the same way, and to be, you know, truly walking this path together as partners, especially if you're in an intimate relationship. And that can be so challenging. So we can talk about that. And ultimately, I mean, we're never going to find the answers to the external world. We know that the external world is not here to give us answers, to help us. It's to wake us up. And so we have to go inside of ourselves and really realize it's not the fact that they're not awake that's causing our suffering. It's the fact we cannot accept this. We cannot accept something inside of ourselves. And that's the true challenge. So I know some people have, and even people have had a partner who is awake, who was on the complete same page, and their relationship they're not together anymore. So it's not a cure-all. So I think it's good to get that perspective as well, that it's all here for our growth. And I think a lot of people think if my partner would just wake up, everything would be perfect. And I don't think it works like that.
Yeah, you touched on a great point, and it goes back to that idea that, you know, it's whether or not we want to play that victim or not, you know, where other things are happening to me or things are happening for me. And the truth is everything's happening for us. You know, everything around us, everything is happening for us to have another layer to unpack and uncover, so that we can truly go within and do the work within, and not be relying on those external influences to make us happy. Nothing can make us happy or make us feel complete. It's all about that going within and doing the work yourself. So yeah, well said. Patricia, did you have something to add on that?
I can totally share to that. Basically, well, my last relationship that I was in, we woke together, and through that awakening, we're like, you know, of course I'm here, they're in their experience, and what a beautiful thing to be able to go through that together, the awakening, and to see all the things that we both saw, like that were completely not right, are now or a different experience of what the world had been showing us is now wow, you know, and all these different areas of our awakening was also in the relationship. where we could see, especially, we both were, listening to Charlie early, probably back in May of 2020, and listening to a lot of the relationship aspects. And as he also suggested listening to, the Secret Garden of Eden and different areas of, like, I had no idea. And we're both actually on that playing field of wanting to get to know our own selves. And we decided, to end the relationship November, even through our awakening, because we both need to, like, find self. So basically what I would be saying is we are still on this journey together in the truth, but want to change form of the relationship. So what a beautiful thing to be able to have the friendship and work on our own true self. And yes, there's been going through the emotional piece, human, but really being and learning to be present with God, and to know that what does God want instead of what does Patricia want. And that was always where the left brain, where I was coming from, and coming into self more and more. I just want, to help to do what God's will is. And it's been really a beautiful experience to know that you could actually, you could awaken together. It may not be what you want or what it looked like, but right now it's like how beautiful that we can actually continue journeying this together. So I'm just saying, like, that there are possibilities that we don't know, we never know. But I still love that person that I was with, and I truly am starting to truly love myself, that I can actually have that capacity that I never thought I could have that for anyone. Let go, let God, and Charlie was saying, it's like, if it doesn't flow, go. And it's like, I used to say that back in the day, and I, and it's like, it's beautiful to hear these, like, doesn't flow, go, then let God. And so, so it's quite the journey right now. And I'm just like, just here and embracing all that is possible. Thank you.
Yeah, well said. And I think there's there's an aspect to all relationships that when we can really step into it, it's only going to strengthen that relationship. It might not move in a way that we anticipated or expected, but it's that letting go of any desire to control it, or even any desire to need it, like to truly appreciate a relationship for what it is in each and every moment, without the need attached to it, that I need this relationship to be in a certain way. And I'm just going to truly be present within it. And if we grow together in whatever capacity, that's wonderful. If we don't, that's okay too. And just being in that place of true acceptance is such an empowering space to be. So thank you for sharing all that, Patty. That's amazing.
I've been learning quite a bit about compromise over the last year. When COVID and the lockdowns kicked off, all I wanted to do was find out every bit of information that I could to prove how wrong it all was, and to share it with everybody I knew. So they all got bombarded with emails and however I could communicate with them. I tried to talk to anybody about it all, and all I really did was drive people away. I mean, it was awful. I thought the more I shared, surely, I'll find the bit of information that'll convince them, and then I'll get them on side. But I mean, I worked through that most with my wife, because we've had to live together, and we've found ways of. When I say compromise, I don't mean I've watered down or given up on what I believe, but that I've learned how to share it more sensitively. I think of it a bit like what the Q team's been trying to do with drip feeding information, and not, if you tell everyone everything at once, it's not going to have the effect you want. So it's been hard to hold back, really. And there are certainly people I don't speak to so much anymore, which has been a shame, but maybe that was the way it was meant to be. So it's all been quite interesting in that regard.
Yeah, with you touched on a great point within, and this is probably my hardest lesson too. So I very much relate to what you're saying, as far as like coming into the truth and wanting to just, like vomit all over everyone until they hear it. Like, come on, guys, pay attention to this. Like, how could you not see? But it's when we, it's when we do that, we're actually we're creating more separation. We're viewing the other beings that we're in relationship with as separate and needing our information to be complete, instead of viewing them as an other self, another representation of myself that's going through their own journey in their own capacity, and it's perfect in the way that they have to go through it. So a strategy that I've really adopted into stepping into that a lot more carefully is really always waiting for the invitation. And every chance, like if I don't have an invitation to share information with someone, then I'm not going to. And that shows itself in different ways with different people in different contexts. And I'm not saying, to not share the truth, but like when I'm on my own platform, like I'm on my own channel, I'm on my own social media or wherever else, or just speaking openly, I'm going to share the truth boldly and loudly. But when I'm dealing with people individually or speaking with someone directly in any capacity, I always wait for that invitation. And if I don't get it, then I stop, full stop. And that switch has really helped to recalibrate my where I devote my energy and my time, and it really has helped improve all of my relationships within that, because I'm not forcing anyone to see anything that they don't want to see. I'm trusting that they're going through their own experience at their own pace that they need to, because it's all a journey that we all have to go through. In a way that's helped me kind of look at that is, even if I have the best of intentions in sharing information with someone, if I'm doing it in a way to where they're not ready for it, it is a form of manipulation on my part. And therefore I'm going to experience negative karmic repercussions by trying to share that information in a way that is manipulative. And it's hard to see that because, we have the best of intentions and we want to share people in the right way. And especially when it's related to health or the truth in any capacity, like we want to get them to that point so they see what we see. But even in that, it's still the wrong choice. It's still not right to be putting that kind of information out there if they're not ready for it. And by doing so, I'm ultimately trying to rob them of their experience of growth. I'm trying to bypass their own personal growth journey by shortcuts, which isn't right either. So just looking at it from that holistic standpoint, that grand view is really helpful to reel myself in and really get myself to focus on those who are ready and those who are asking, those who are giving that invitation at all times. And then I can channel my energy there, and everyone else, I'm just going to continue to wait and let them grow at their own pace and be ready in their own time. So yeah, just wanted to add that little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was helping people, but to be honest, I had to apologise to a few people last year because I thought I've just become a bit of a bully and an arsehole over it, and that's not a way to win friends and influence people. And with all the differences of opinion with my wife, one thing I learned from her is that, I mean, she is the diplomat in situations. So that so I can learn just as much from her about things.
I could definitely relate to the wanting to share as we're going through this journey. We're searching out and we're learning truth and getting rid of lies. And I have kids as well, so teaching kids and upbringing them. You want to teach them good morals and where to come and where to find truth, and having that inside, wanting to share it with my wife, and going through this journey. Definitely resonate with Mark and Justin as far as being a little overpowering sometimes with the energy and not really realizing it, because I was coming from what I thought was a place of love. I put everything into it, and I go, wow, this is your health. This is something that's going to make you feel better. Look how, look at me, what I'm doing. Why can't you see this? And kind of getting frustrated with them not seeing it and not really taking that chance to look within until, I think until it got a little bit harder for myself. And then I was I had to ask myself this question is, why don't they want to accept it? Why don't they, it's apparent, and it's really getting in front of God's free will. God gave every man and woman free will, and the manipulation that Justin's talking about that we do unintentionally coming from a love space is absolutely stepping somebody's free will. So we're actually trapping that energy within inside of ourselves and not letting that full reciprocation actually naturally, organically happen. And then it does come back to us in a karmic way, and then we have to deal with it, and not knowing where that comes from usually manifests, and it's a snowball. It gets to a slippery slope, and you really start serving from the left hemisphere of your brain, love, care, and compassion. Because if you did, you would, one, create your own boundaries coming into the, in a relationship. That's one thing I could definitely say that I've learned is my boundaries are really defined now. I know where they are. I could say of all my past from, I thought I knew who I was. I thought I was, knew what this definition of knowing thyself is, but didn't have the boundaries that we really need. That handbook that none of us got, that nobody teaches us at school or church or anywhere, is really finding those boundaries with inside themselves. So as we say it a lot, it's, everything's happening for us to learn. For my journey, it's, really defining my boundaries and setting, figuring out where I could come from to serve who I come in contact the best with. Now I'm, able to stand on a pillar of rock and shine my lighthouse, and I don't have to worry about who's outside of that light. And if they do choose to come in, like Justin was talking about, and start asking questions, well, I'm there in a healthy way, in my space, in my boundaries, so my light will resonate with them because they chose to come inside of my space and enter that. So it takes that manipulation away from the situation, takes that karmic energy away as well. And it just really results in a really beautiful experience. As I progress through this transition with my ex now, the conversations became a lot better as I defined my boundaries and actually worked through the energy coming up to those conversations, because it's a new conversation, it's new words, it's a new approach, talking to the same person that you talked to for 10 years, and you come with it with such an honesty. Their higher self, their inner self actually knows what you're saying, because that energy reciprocates with them. You're not stepping inside of their free will. So even though that they might not like the information, but the result of it is exactly where you're what you want, because it's a reciprocation. It's more questioning, it's leaving it open rather than trying to force feed it down their throat. So it's a long, fun journey, but
Yeah, well said. And I think a lot of us, have good intentions or think our intentions are good, but sometimes when you look deep within yourself, you realize there's some fear there. Because why is this bothering me so much? If there wasn't fear, I wouldn't be resistant. It wouldn't bother me. And I know with the health aspect, that's one of the first things I woke up to and tried to convince my husband of with all the information, and none of it worked. We just argued and argued and argued. And finally, I had to look inside myself and see, I'm afraid that something is going to happen to him because he's not eating properly. He's going to get sick, or I'm going to have to take care of him, or I'm going to lose him because he's going to get an illness or pass away. And that was my fear. And I was trying so hard to push this onto him to help assuage my fear, but nobody can do that for us. We have to do it ourselves. And once you realize this is something that you have to go through, you cannot do it for anyone. I know we want to shortcut it for our loved ones, but as you've also beautifully said, that's really cheating them, because only you can come to these awakenings on your own. And even us, we have so much information. We know about fruit and juice, but are we there yet? No, because it takes slow steps. And that's exactly where they're at. They're just a few steps down the path from us, and they need to go there and realize it for themselves. Otherwise, it's not going to stick with them. It's not going to help them. And they're just on their journey, and it's perfect, just like we're on our journey. I know probably many of us want to be a lot further ahead than we are, but we have to be where we are now. And that's exactly where our loved ones are. They're on their journey where they are now. And we can't give it to them, just like nobody could have given it to us.
Yeah, well said. And when you look at the fear, as you mentioned, that's going on inside, beyond that is still love. So when we go within, we can connect to the love within ourselves, and from that we can connect again with love, in love with the other person. But if we skip the step where we forget ourselves, we go past ourselves, there's nobody to connect with. And then we go into our left brain, and it's all about arguments, and everybody is digging deeper into their own stuff to not want to feel the fear that's going on within the other person, who is trying to manipulate the other one to come over to their side. But when you connect to your own fear, then you can say, well, I feel fear. And that leaves an open space for the other one to connect from feeling fear itself or from love. Like, well, I feel fear as well, or sad to hear you feel fear, and let's connect on it. And it's in those regards, it's when you talk about magnetism, it's either or. So when you have the magnets which are pushing in, and it's creating a field, and no matter how hard you try, you are still pushing the other one away, either direction you're going. But the moment you turn and you go within, there's a possibility for the other one to connect.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go for it.
So I noticed that, well, what I tend to do is I look back and say, what would I have done different? Knowing what I know now, what would I have done different back then? So I think that there is a place that transcends the differences. And I think it's our work here. It's the great work to figure out what that space is, where that space exists within us, and how it manifests outside of us, and how it interacts with those around us. And so we're talking a lot about the differences, things that happen when we're waking up and we feel like our partner isn't in the same space as us. And so there's a lot of different things going on, and we think we've got to convince, we have to share information, we're afraid. But if we slow down and just take a breath and try to find, the place in us where it's not option A or option B, but there's a third place. There's the third place where the Trinity meets, that transcends all of this stuff, and it is the heart. And we can talk about the heart and coming back into ourselves and compassion, but what does that actually look like? It's a third option that presents itself in the most beautiful, mysterious way. And so for me, and I think for each person, it's different, but if we can try to find the places that we do resonate on, even if the relationship changes form, that's okay. But like an example for me would be maybe this person I'm with isn't believing the way I'm believing, or knowing the things that I'm knowing, or eating the way that I'm eating, but where do we connect, and what is that space? And I often find for myself, it's music, it's sound, it's banging on a drum, it's sitting around a fire, it's taking a walk in nature, and not talking about any of the mental stuff, because that government needs to be overthrown anyways. And so when we come back into center and come back into ourselves, it flows out of us from the heart space, from the inertial plane, where all the balance is happening. This is not going to move. This is what we're here to learn, is the heart. And so whether it's a partner, or it's a child, or it's work, there is a third option. It's not this or that and other, I have to pull everything back in. I think just staying connected to what else is, I'm being asked to grow here. I'm being asked to expand here beyond my normal ways of thinking in duality and polarity. So that for me is something that I would have done in the past that I didn't know, that I do know now, and I see now as like really powerful. You know, it really moves the entire energy and shifts things, and we look at each other anew, and things get clear, and it's like, I want you to go on your journey, and I want you to go on your journey, or we want to do this journey together. You know, things come through that space that wouldn't necessarily come through in another way. And I realize that not everybody can do that, and they have to do that stuff on their own. But coming back to the sound that we are, the vibration that we are, and sharing that with one another, I just think is something I wanted to share, because it's very, very powerful, and it's the heart, it's the green.
Yeah, beautiful. It's all about that middle path, that middle path, that middle way. Yeah, well said. Yeah,
I see a
JoAnne.
lot of people talking about fear in the chat, and fear is usually in the future, and it's all in our mind. I know someone had said, I had seen someone say recently, you know, oh, my grandmother is sick and I just can't stand the thought of her passing away. And it's like, she's alive now. She has not passed away, but you're so projected. You're not able to be present with this person now. And all these fears of what if this, what if that, it's all in our mind. It's not happening right now. And so anytime you get into your mind and you get pulled from the present, that's when all that suffering happens. So just be present, try not to take thought and not get, those thoughts are so tricky and they're so fearful and so strong, because these are our dearest and nearest loved ones, but we have to master this. We cannot be controlled by this.
Yeah, because the present moment is the only space where God truly lives. So anytime we step outside of it, we're in this false egoic construct where the separation, I mean, we're never separate from God, but where the separation from God is more apparent. So come back to that space, come back to the here and now. That's where God is. That's where we should be.
Exactly. And you'll know what to do and what to say in that moment, and it'll be perfect for your situation, for everyone involved. It won't be coming from the mind, from fear, and you never know what can happen then.
Yeah, welcome, Jennifer. We didn't get a chance to welcome you in. Did you want to add into this?
Yeah, I'm Jennifer. You know, do you want me to give you a little bit of where I came from? Is that how it started?
Yeah, I would love that. Would love that.
Yeah. So I found this beautiful community through Marie. She and I, well, she was my yoga teacher in 2009. I did her yoga teacher training with her and Larry, and we've been Facebook friends for a long time, but we just reconnected recently because I live in Marin, California, and I've been searching for like-minded people for a very long time, for the last 4 years, actually. It's been a real heavy 4 years, I could say. I worked for a tech company in San Francisco. I just recently got laid off in September, and it's just been really heavy living here in the Bay Area, and having so much pushback from so many people, my neighbors, my coworkers, my children, I actually have a lot of support through my family, but yeah, it's been really heavy. But just like Annie said, and all of you guys shared such beautiful things. It's a dance. I've learned over the years that this thing I've had to really dance with my energy and other people's energy. And what I love about this community, and I can't stop watching. I literally like signed on or logged in one day and I was like watching and I'm going, wow, this is what Maria's connected to. This is mind blowing. This is amazing. And listening to Charlie, and I had just started a Bible study right before I found you guys. And then you guys were talking about the Bible, and it was like everything was all coming together. It was so beautiful because I didn't tell you, but I was a wellness coordinator. I don't think I mentioned that at the tech company. So I was trying to bring wellness into this very toxic space. And that was really hard and really heavy. And it was hard for me to keep myself clean and healthy as well. So when I lost my job, basically for the last 7 months, I've just been trying to restore. I didn't even realize how toxic I was, like how much everything has affected me. So to come and find this community has just been so enlightening and just so lightening, taking the load off my shoulders and helping me connect to that next level, to like, where am I going now? And I have to tell you, like yesterday was such a magical day when we're talking about relationships. I have a young girl in my life. I have 2 children. They're both teenagers, 2 girls. And I have a young girl, not my daughters, but another young girl in my life who is struggling. She wants to take her life and she's tried multiple times. And we've been meeting and doing some yoga together, or we've been talking about meeting and doing yoga together. But yesterday was our first time together. And it was, I have to say, if I hadn't been eating so much fruit, and if I hadn't been connected to this community, and I hadn't been doing this new work on such a new level, I don't think that I would have had such a connection with this young girl. And it was beautiful. And I talked to her mom afterwards, and she wants to come back and do more. And it's like Annie, you were saying, in my mind, I look at it as letting go and letting God. We're thinking, like I'm constantly trying to think and figure things out. Through my divorce, I did the same. And always, every single time, it would come down to letting go and letting God and trusting that. And it's hard to let go of that because we want to hold on to that control. And we're afraid to let go of that control because we feel like, we've got to figure it out. We have to figure every little thing out. And especially when you have children, you feel like you have to figure every little thing out for them. But a little voice always comes in my head and in my heart saying, let go and let God, and have the best of intentions always. And with that, you can't go wrong. And keep learning and keep listening and listen for opportunities. Listen for that opportunity to grow. Like I've been in the wellness industry for how long? Years. But this is a whole new level of wellness for me. Like this is so amazing. And people in my family know what I'm doing, but it's those, like Justin, you were saying, you have to be, basically what you were saying is what I was hearing is you have to listen for those opportunities with people. And when you hear them, then share, but you have to protect yourself as well, because you're protecting yourself from that karma. Yes. But you're protecting yourself from any, I guess the karma would be injuring your own body, because you're really doing harm to yourself when you push against, and if you understand the law of attraction in the way that I do, when you push against anything, you're actually bringing on more of it. So you have to really just allow and get into the flow and realize when that flow is like you're going upstream. It's like, here I go again. Okay, back to letting go and letting God. So yeah, I'm going kind of all over the place. This is my first time kind of talking in the community. I've only been listening, and it's just been so wonderful, but I wanted to start contributing where I can. And, you know, I hope this particular conversation keeps going, because I think it's, you know, it's in relationships. That's what we're here for. We're here to relate with one another, and we're here to help one another. But at the same time, we have to be careful of our ego getting in there. Like, when are we really helping, and when are we really, like, when is that ego really stepping in? And you know, and when you really are helping, you can feel it, because you're gaining as much as that other person is gaining. You can feel that equality there, and it's just so beautiful. It's co-creating. It's just the best. So I just wanted to share all that, and thank you. You guys are amazing. Like, I was afraid to talk, because I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful and amazing, all of them. And it can be intimidating, this community, but it's, at the same time, I know you guys are all so full of light, and we're on this journey together. So thank you for welcoming me in, Justin, and thanks for
Yeah,
listening.
so glad that you're here. Thank you for sharing all that. It's perfect. I mean, it's all perfect. Like, everything that has been shared today from each and every one of y'all has been just absolutely incredible, incredible and amazing. So yeah, that's the best thing about this community, is we all have that goal of the truth, but we have our unique sort of flavor and perspective to how we get there, and how we're achieving it. Which is just so helpful, because the more that we share in that sort of capacity, the more that it just helps others get on that same path towards the truth. Whatever avenue you want to take, as long as your direction, as long as your aim is the same focal point of that, getting back to singularity, getting back to the togetherness, the wholeness. So yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, I love what you said about the dance, when other people push back, or you feel like they don't get you. And it just is such a wonderful thing to show you where you need to go deeper, because I think a lot of people want acceptance from others. We don't want people to think that we're crazy. We don't want them to disapprove of us, to judge us. And that comes at a lot in relationships, you know, feeling that discomfort when others don't approve of us. Yet we need to resolve that and not let people control our happiness. Because if you don't resolve it in this relationship, and you just, let me jump out of this relationship, quit this person, get rid of them, kick them to the side, this issue is going to come up in another relationship. Life is just going to continue to bring you situations, people, until you resolve it, because it's really happening for you to show you you're giving control to this person. You're letting them make you miserable because they don't accept you, and it doesn't have to be like that. So who cares if they're not awake, or they don't agree with you, or they think you're crazy or weird? I used to struggle with this so much. I recently talked about this in a video, and struggling with people pleasing, and so much discomfort, like, oh, this person doesn't like me, I have to make them like me, I have to fix it. And it's miserable to live that way. And if you're waiting for your partner to accept you to make you happy, you're going to be waiting a long time. Because it all comes from inside you. And also, when you learn the lesson, you know, either they're going to stop projecting that, or it's no longer going to bother you, because you've learned the lesson. So you don't need to feel that pain and have that challenge again. So if you want to get it over with, get it over with inside yourself first.
Yeah, usually the answers are in the words. You know, once we have an issue with somebody, well, the issue is you. No matter what it is, if it's a relationship or walking down the street, and if something bothers you, that's a mirror for you to look inside deeper. What I realized going through this and really jumping down this food journey a little bit harder than I have before. I've been lucky with my parents. They've had a garden their whole life, and really lived off the earth as much as they could. You know, we still had you know, meat products, but you know, we'd go hunt for them and harvest them ourselves. And you know, when we take them down, we'd bless them and thank God. And you know, we'd do things as close as we could with Mother Nature and Heavenly Father as we could. But it still wasn't that clarity and that purity that, you know, that we're going on this next level that, you know, people, we're all speaking about. And what I've realized with my real eyes is the real lies. Because when I went through my a journey with my ex, and we also had an unfortunate house fire, and it happened to be on the 21st of December, which is the solstice. So some of my stories are very biblical because they're happening very timely, but I was in the middle of a 11-day water fast. And I realized the capacity that my body was able to handle the energy that it wasn't able to before, because I purified myself and got rid of all the waste and the toxins within inside of myself. I was able to absorb a lot of this outside energy that I might not have been before. So as we become pure, this clarity that we get becomes so clear. And as that clarity comes, of course, you want to share it. But then if you do the work and go within, you know that clarity is for you, so you could shine brighter, so you could be that beacon of light, so you could attract the people around you. Because the true magnetism is the outward force, the outward causation, the outward force is the true magnetism. That's where other people can see it, and then they're drawn to you. If you're thinking magnetism is, oh, how can I draw these people to me? Well, that's the downward causation. That's the gravity. That's this transverse wave. It's temporal. It's going to stop, and that's why we have these arguments or big spurts, and they might that release, and we think we're doing well, but we're coming from not the right place. We're serving the left hemisphere energy and not the right hemisphere energy. Well, the right hemisphere energy is standing there on your rock, being that light, so other people can be attracted to you and not running around aimlessly trying to grab everybody that you feel that's lost. Because really it is you. It's you that's lost, and it's you that you need to be found. Because once you find yourself, you don't need to go anywhere. You stand strong where we are. That's why we show up presently every day for each other here in the community that we're building and the chats. You know, it's amazing how many people keep on showing up and being present for themselves and for the surrounding community that we're building and talking about. So it is a beautiful journey that we're just enlightening ourselves in so many different ways. And it's a holistic journey that we're going on that is uncovering all the darkness within ourselves, inside of relationships, communities. We've seen it out in the outside world, but all in all, it's really how we deal with it in ourselves, building our boundaries, being that clear mirror for everybody else, being the most polished mirror that we can, because that's how we truly serve our brothers and sisters on this journey. Because we're just here to be that representation, to be that mirror for them so they could learn. So we're not trying to absorb all that energy of everybody else. So.
Yeah, and it's not always the easiest thing too, to be that clear mirror. Sometimes we'd rather, point it away from someone so that we don't have to shine it at them, because we, again, going back to fear, but we fear the reaction of what shining that mirror might actually do. But when we're, every decision that we make, it's binary. It comes down to love or fear, God or the absence of God. It's always boiled down to those two. So if we're reluctant to be a clear mirror for someone out of fear of a reaction, then ultimately we are incurring a karmic debt of some degree or another when we are giving into that egoic desire of fear. So that's why it's so, it takes a good reprogramming, because organized society has really trained us to be very passive, and don't want to offend anyone or don't want to step on anyone's toes, but we're really doing a disservice. We're doing a disservice to our other selves and ourselves, in that sort of sense. So yeah, well said, Aaron. Just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, I think kind of going back to what Mark said when he mentioned compromise, it doesn't mean not being authentic and speaking the truth, because that actually does take a lot of courage when people disagree. But there's a difference between that and running around and trying to shove it down their throat. But yeah, if somebody ask me something, or we discuss something, I'm going to speak honestly what I know to be true. If they get angry, that's for their learning, whether they take that opportunity or not. That's out of my control. But I have to stand in what I know to be true and do what I know to be right, no matter what. If they get upset, if they get angry, if they want to judge me, and not compromise yourself, because that's when you start to create problems. You shouldn't be sacrificing yourself for others, sacrificing what you know to be right. You shouldn't be eating food just because they're eating it when you truly don't want to eat it, just to make them feel good or feel loved. Just stand in what you know to be right all the time, and you'll be okay. But it takes courage, for sure.
Yeah, that resonates for me for sure, JoAnne. When in regards to a couple of things, um, going back to 2016 on election night, when my neighbor came to me and found out, and I had a moment of, am I going to be honest with her, or am I going to be fearful, and am I going to please her? It wasn't about lying. It was just about, I'm afraid of her reaction towards me and losing a friend. And then all these thoughts in a moment came through my mind. And I remember standing there and looking at her and saying, I'm so sorry. And I put my arms on her shoulder. I love you so much, but I'm on the other side of things. And she just bawled and ran out of my house and didn't talk to me and told many people. And it was a moment of humiliation. And when I think back, I'm so glad it happened, because it got me over that, like, pleasing everyone. I have to please everyone. And I had to go through humiliation because, so many people knew that I didn't think like them. And made up their minds on what that meant about me. And we have children that, know each other. It's just like for my children, I had to be concerned. But to be honest with you, my daughter said something to me, even though she's, my teenagers, we grew up in a very liberal area, and in the whole country, it's probably the most liberal in Marin. And so they're on the other side of things. They don't understand my perspective. It's really hard for them. And I think at the same time, they've had to go through a divorce. They've got so much up against them that they're like, Mom, please, like, can we just go with the program with one thing, go along with how everybody else is doing things. But recently she came to me, and I think it was, on my birthday or something. I don't know when it was, but she said she was telling me things that she loved about me. And one of them was that I always stand for what I believe in, no matter what, and no matter what anyone else thinks. And she said, even though I don't agree with you on many things, I appreciate the fact that you take a stand for yourself. And I was like, wow. Okay. It was just like I mean, I shouldn't need that confirmation. We should never need the confirmations from anyone. But, my concern is first and foremost for my children and their well-being and their mental health and all of that. And when I'm affecting it, I do question myself, like, how much should I be expressing, what I believe to be the truth, and how I feel about things. Or do I, silence? And I have to say, I'm so glad I didn't do that. There was another point I was going to make. Oh, it was about the food and my children. Also, that's another thing. That's a hard dance, because as I'm learning even more, they've always known me to juice, and they've always known me to eat healthy. And I'm always pushing, for them to eat healthier. But this is a whole new level of wellness that they're seeing me come into. And I'm really trying to educate them but I'm listening for those opportunities now, because at first I came on, when I really felt it for myself, I was like, oh my gosh, I want my kids need to, a lot of things need to change. And then I realized, especially with teenagers, you can't push. You really can't push on anything with them. So I've looked for opportunities again, listening for those opportunities. for them to be open to. And those opportunities look like sometimes when they're not feeling well, they're both athletes. So sometimes often they're not feeling well in their body. And I'm like, okay, this is, let's eat more fruit. Okay, drink this juice, and those are the opportunities I'm listening for now. And it's working. They're talking to me a little bit more about it. Now they're open to conversation. They're coming to me for solutions around when they're not feeling well. I've noticed that. And so it's baby steps and listening for those opportunities. Again, that dance. But yeah, with the children, it's really, for me, it's been really challenging because those are the most important people in my life. I love them so much. And I just want them to be healthy. And learning all of this information it's hard to transition them. But I think we just need to be, if there's anybody else listening who has teenagers, it's just patience and listening for those opportunities.
Also, I think that as we are experiencing the uplift in energy and the higher vibration from the foods that we're eating. We are just becoming, these so much lighter in so many ways. My kids, I have teenagers too. I have 3 kids, and 2 of them 17 and 19, and my daughter's almost 12. And my boys are watching me and they're like, they can't keep up with me. They just like, Mom, would you slow down? And I have so much energy because I came from a place of being really unwell, and they've always seen me on a spiritual path in one capacity or another. But this has really affected them because they saw me go from just being in bed all day long for months on end to just having this complete transformation. And so I didn't have to try to convince them, I'm just being, and it shows up in that way. And I'm also, I have my boundaries around what I will and won't bring into the house, but they're old enough, they're driving, they can go buy what they want. And that's what they can do. I'm not going to guilt trip them. I grew up in the church and I had enough guilt. And so something I was wondering if there were people, JoAnne, who were struggling around the relationship things with partnerships, feeling bad about having to step away and really having to move in another direction, because that's the place that I come from. And I can speak to that. But if that isn't coming up for questions, we don't need to go there. But I know that I've struggled with a lot of guilt and needing to step away and shaming from being in the church. So especially women and men, really, who just are finding like, how am I being unconditionally loving if I'm stepping away, and struggling with this polarity within themselves and trying to create dialogue with that kind of a person. I'd be very interested in speaking with or bringing those types of things up, but I won't do that unless that's being asked for. So I have to leave in a few minutes too, but
I think that's perfect. And while we've got you, I would love you to share on that, because I think that's a very very relevant topic, because it doesn't, it's about letting go of those expectations. We can do everything right, but we can't have that expectation that it's always going to be exactly the way that I envision it. And that
Right.
includes relationships. So yeah, I would love you to jump into that as long as we got you.
Okay. So I spent a little time really meditating on this last night and doing a little bit of writing. So I think I'm just going to read to keep it focused because I have to go. And then I'm going to listen to this later because I want to hear what you guys come up with. But this is so near and dear to my heart because I feel like this has just been a big source of resistance, difficulty, and where the light comes in, because it comes in at the wound. So this is I'm just going to share what I wrote. So this isn't the easiest subject, as we all know. There's a lot of social conditioning around relationships alongside a myriad of programs we're running from such a young age. I think one of the programs is that is becoming obsolete right now for many of us is that our primary focus should always be family first. Bear with me. Our relationships to another, spouse, partner should be first. From a young age, we're not taught about our relationship to self, God. So naturally, when we're unfolding in the midst of an awakening, we find it hard to navigate the balance between what we feel, know is right and is beckoning us versus what we're told was right and is expected of us. And this is all a part of our schooling. It's earth training, heart raining, rose unfolding journey. It's such a beautiful thing, and it's truly an epic journey. from ether to earther and back again. What a fantastic orgasmic breath apart. And I'm in awe every moment. For me, in my experience of moving through different stages of sleep and awakenings all throughout my life, I've had to shed many things and allow things to die, which is really only a transmutation of energy. I've had to release many intimate relationships from lovers to friends. I worked hard at keeping them alive even as they started to wane, given my newfound love of God, self, the divine within me. I went from trying to convince partners to allowing disharmony between us and staying in it, to putting my foot out the door and walking away. All of these choices were right in the time that I created the experience of them. And each time I had to face letting go, it became more difficult, not easier. But once I finally recognized the pattern of what was happening, clarity started rushing in. This constant divorce from people was only mirroring my divorce from the source of life, God. I was in an adulterous relationship with everything because I had left my true nature, lover. I was corrupt. Adultery is from adulterare, which means to pollute, to defile, to corrupt. When we're not living in right relationship with mother and father, we are defiling and corrupting the marriage bed within. And it's only natural then that these relationships to others outside of us would fall apart within that awareness, as they were built on falsities and corruptness as well. As we realize that we have become divorced from ourselves and have been kicked out of the garden, we have a choice to make. It's no longer about other, it's about self, God, it's about love. And I don't mean the program of love that is usurped unconditional love, which is truth. I would find myself asking questions like, how is this unconditionally loving, as I was leaving a relationship? And I realize now that our idea of love is so contorted and misguided by the darkness and death that we consume, not only by mouth, but through our eyes, our ears as well. Unconditional love is not a thing we do, it's what we are. And until we get aligned with that, we will sway in stormy seas, being tossed from shore to shore, all the while searching for water. The essence, the fragrance of unconditional love to me is knowing what you have to do and doing it no matter the cost, saying what you have to say no matter the cost. In each stage of the game, we will take a different action, yet it's all really the same if we're coming from that place. Awakening is like a reckoning. When these forces within us start to commune, the mother and the father, the right and the left hemispheres, a reckoning occurs. To reckon means to set in a straight line, to arrange in an order. We are literally being reordered during this process. All beliefs arise in these moments. Anything that is not built on the rock, the solid foundation of truth, will arise and be shaken to be reordered. It is in our relationships where this shows up the most. Given that we are all mirrors reflecting back to one another, it only makes sense that often our partners will be a stand-in for what is dying off within us. Sad but true. So how can we reconcile with the death of a thing like relationships? This is really at the root of things for us in our Western world. We're not familiar with death. Death is hidden for the most part, and we do everything we can do, from pharmaceuticals to stem cells, to stay young and prevent it at all costs. Unlearning what we've acquired here takes opportunities and situations to put new systems in place. So we're given opportunities. So we're given those opportunities through the vein of relationships, letting go, allowing certain things to die, becoming acquainted with surrender. These are foundational within the wake of crossing over the Red Sea. As we change within and reconnect with the earth, those around us will ride the energy alongside us and find their own wave, or they will fall away. To keep this short, because I could go on and on, it would serve us well probably to become a bit less myopic about these situations. For example, right now, as I'm trying to sell my own home and get myself closer to the equator, I have 3 children, 11, 17, and 19. My 2 older ones do not want to leave. My youngest is really struggling with it, but she will come. Do I stay here and fulfill my expected role as typical mother, or do I follow what is beckoning to me? If I look at it closely, it may appear that my leaving them with their father would be abandoning them. But as I pull out and get a bit bigger view of the situation, I can see that I'm making a new way and a new opportunity for a better existence aligned with truth, the truth of where I am and what I am. And I know that this tiny ripple of a choice will expand out, thus creating a shift for the entire collective, my children included. We do take ourselves so seriously. We so easily forget that this is a play, and we think it's all very real and matter of fact. We can really change the energy within and without the more we laugh and look at ourselves from a distance. What I had thought of as failure on my part through all these broken relationships was not failure. It was me growing up and learning all along the way. The cost of going against what we feel in our hearts to be right is too great. We have to go, we have got to start following the heart again. It is the balance, the compass rose, always showing us our true north. So I'm encouraging all those in stormy relationship seas to remember their inner compass and let it guide you back home, because the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. So that's my heart. And I just really appreciate having a place to share it, you know, and I hope that resonates with somebody and really helps them out. And I hope that they can have a nice big exhale and feel really good right now. So I'm going to stay on for a few more moments and then hop off.
Wow. Wow. I'm in such awe. Thank you so much, Annie, for sharing that. That was absolutely spectacular. And it's so, yeah, it really does cut right to the core of, you know, this sort of guilt-based shame programming that we put on ourselves when dealing with relationships and how they should be, and what are, you know, what is really committing myself. But if we're not honoring our true path, if we're not honoring the truth, then we're ultimately disregarding God's call, you know, because God's always calling, God's always leading us exactly where we need to go. And when we ignore that just for the sake of, you know, whatever society has programmed on us to maintain a relationship or family or whatever, to whatever degree, and that's not to say to abandon anyone and to run, because again, it goes back to this two-way street, you know, this bifurcation of a decision. Is this out of love or is this out of fear? And if I'm staying in a relationship out of fear because I don't know what's going to happen, or I'm afraid of how people are going to react to me or what they're going to say out of me, that's a fear-based decision. And if I'm setting out, answering the call that God's offering, regardless of the reactions that it might cause, you know, that is ultimately a love-based decision. And we have to get really clear on that. You know, we have to really get clear on the driving force behind each and every step that we take, so that we're not going down that left-hand path and we're sticking on that straight and narrow, and leading with the heart, as you so beautifully said. So, wow, thank you for sharing that. I think that does help a lot of people come to terms with what might need to happen. And it's not to, you know, because regardless of what we do, you know, and each and every moment we should be striving to stay in that balanced place where nothing in the external has an effect over my well-being. But that doesn't mean that I should be a martyr and sacrifice myself in order for the sake of appearance, or just to dwell within misery in that sort of sense. You know, there are times when within relationships where the best solution for both parties involved is to go that separate way, and to say, you know what, we taught each other a lot. We taught each other a whole lot, and we're still teaching each other, even in the separation, even by leaving. It's still just a powerful teaching mechanism. And so if I don't do that, I'm robbing the other party of that gift, of that teaching, of that sharing. Yeah, a lot of good things with that. But it's a hard one. It's a hard one for a lot of us to go through. I know that's been a big thing that I've been discussed with within people. It's just like, how do you know, like, when is the time to do that? How do you know, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to be growing closer together? Am I supposed to be working through things? Am I supposed to be fighting, you know, like really pushing that, or am I supposed to be going away? And the answer that I always say is you already know. You know exactly what you have to do, because God's telling you. God's always telling you. You just have to listen. And I can't say what it is, because for each and every individual, it's completely different. But God is always leading you to that space where you need to get to, and to make that love-based decision, so that you and your partner, or whomever you're within a relationship with, can be guided towards that place of maximum potential, to that place of abundance. And sometimes staying within a relationship is not going to lead y'all there. sometimes it is. Sometimes that's growing together is what is going to lead you there. So it just all depends, but all comes back to doing that internal work and gaining that clarity so that we can truly answer that call and see where it takes us. So yeah, that's my spiel on that.
Excuse me a minute. I just need to go and get a charging lead.
Yeah, take your time. Jennifer, did
Yeah.
you have some?
Oh, go
Or
ahead.
JoAnne?
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, if you're feeling confusion or getting into your mind trying to debate, like, and you're making that old pros and cons list, just pause, take a breath. Don't decide. Don't feel like let the mind rush you into making a decision, because you'll know. And I found also sometimes you don't even have to do anything. Life just takes care of it for you. And it all happens when you actually just flow and let go and get out of your mind, basically get out of the way.
Yeah, you're right. That was so beautiful first. Gosh, still taking that in. And it resonates with me because like I said, relationships are so important to me. And when I was listening to her, I was thinking in particular my intimate relationships that I've had. And this is why I love this work so much, and what Charlie has shared in the journey to rising. It's like that's where it's at, and trusting and letting go, and you can test where you're at with that in these hard situations where before I would hold on to these feelings of guilt and shame and uncertainty in relationships, and now I'm starting to really I'm letting some of that go. It's not as heavy anymore the more I do this work. And especially with the food, I mean, just eating more fruit has really helped me be more clear. I'm divorced, but I have a really good relationship with my ex-husband, and he comes and stays with us a lot. But I still hold a lot of guilt for that, I have children and going through a divorce, and are they okay, and all of this stuff. The more I feed myself and I feel this rising within me, this clarity and rising and purification, it's like everything else around me feels more pure, and I'm thinking about it more purely. It's less heavy. I just had a conversation with him recently where I realized this with my ex-husband, and I just thought, this feels so good. I don't feel the same anymore. Like, I don't have that same level of shame and guilt, and it feels different. And I really believe it's because I've connected to this community, and I'm learning in a whole new way. I'm still a baby. I feel like a baby again, which is fun to feel like a baby again. It's like, wow, I get to explore a whole new side of myself and others, really. And yeah, so I just wanted to share that. I think that was so amazing. And also a very troubling relationship that I had that has taught me so much. And I can see it clearer now. Like, I can see what I was contributing to it. Because when somebody says somebody's a mirror to you, like if if you're pushing against somebody or saying somebody's wrong, or you think that they're way off, there's something within you that's off as well. And I understood that. Didn't understand. I understood, but I now have a deeper understanding of that. I really do. And it's because I'm doing the work. It's just like somebody saying, I go to church and you read the Bible, or you listen to a preacher preach about the Bible, and you think that you're of that religion and you're of that faith and you've got it all. But unless you actually go and you read and you experience that journey, if it's the Bible like we're doing, it's a whole different experience. You're going to get so much more out of it. I mean, it's night and day. So that's what I love about this. It's a very juicy experience that's helping us grow in a way that's bringing us to the actual truth, not just some made up, somebody's idea, of what truth is, and little bits and pieces where only the left side of our brain is understanding. The left side of our brain is understanding it, but we're not gaining that understanding. So I just wanted to share that. I do rant all the time. I go off on tangents, but hopefully you got something out of that.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And that's what we're all going through. And that you had that understanding, but now you understand it. It's truly a part of you. And that's what everybody is going through. And sometimes our loved ones have to crash around and bump into things and hit their head and get hurt. But that's how they get it, just like how we're getting it. We would hate to have somebody come constantly telling us, why aren't you fruitarian yet? Why aren't you juicing yet? Don't you know the benefits? You're poisoning yourself. You're eating cooked food again. Like, why are you doing? Like, we know, but we need to get there on our own. And we would hate for somebody to come and be shoving that down our throat and pushing that onto us. So we can't do it to others. We have to come to that understanding through our own experience on our own. Nobody can give it to us. So that's important too. And I love what Annie had said about the program of love, because it's just a program of the mind that this is what a relationship should look like. This is what a successful one looks like. You get married, you stick together, you don't get divorced. I mean, it depends all on your programs, but if that is your program, then you're going to feel guilt and shame, or I'm a failure if my relationship breaks up. And that's just all in the mind. It's not what's real. So I know it's hard to overcome that when it's such a strong programming and your family and friends are all saying, why couldn't you just make it work? And you're hurting other people by not doing that. But how can you hurt other people when you're true to yourself? Because we're all one. So just because somebody has an ego reaction, that doesn't mean you're harming them. That's just their ego for their growth. And you're giving them the gift to have that opportunity to wake up. Whether they take it or not, again, that's not up to you. But you're not harming anyone when you are in love, acting from love, from truth. Even if people don't like your decision, you're not hurting anybody.
Yeah, it's so vital that we get to this space where we are just sharing the truth without any reservation, of this sort of left brain thing that stops us. And it's really fitting. I want to share something with y'all real quick. It's about a 6-minute video, but it's so perfect. I just saw it recently and I'd love to put it up on the screen. So I'm going to share that. And it's just about that very thing. So this is from Jordan Peterson.
1,000 people. One way of conceptualizing yourself is that you're one speck of dust among 7 billion. And when you conceptualize yourself that way, you might think, well, what difference does it make what I say or do? And that's actually quite convenient for you, because if it doesn't matter what you say or do, then you don't have any responsibility and you can do whatever you want. The price you pay for that is a bit of nihilism, but if you don't have to shoulder any responsibility, that's a small price to pay. That's the underground motivation for nihilism. But the other way of looking at it, and this is actually the accurate way of looking at it, is that you're in a network. You're a node in a network. And so you can do a little bit of arithmetic very rapidly and just figure out how powerful you are. You know 1,000 people. You're going to know more than that over the course of your life, but let's say 1,000 for the sake of argument for now. They know 1,000 people. That means that you're one person away from 1 million people and 2 persons away from 1 billion people. And you're the center of that network. And now the way networks work is that information propagates in a network manner. So don't underestimate the power of your speech. Now, you know, Western culture is phallogocentric. Let's say it. Okay, so we'll say, yeah, that's just fine. That's exactly what it is. It's predicated on the idea of the logos, that the logos is the sacred element of Western culture. And what does that mean? It means that your capacity for speech is divine. It's the thing that generates order from chaos and then sometimes turns pathological order into chaos when it has to. Don't underestimate the power of truth. There's nothing more powerful. Now, in order to speak what you might regard as the truth, you have to let go of the outcome. You have to think, all right, I'm going to say what I think, stupid as I am, biased as I am, ignorant as I am. I'm going to state what I think as clearly as I can, and I'm going to live with the consequences no matter what they are. Now, the reason you think that, that's an element of faith. The idea is that nothing brings a better world into being than the stated truth. Now, you might have to pay a price for that, but that's fine. You're going to pay a price for every bloody thing you do and everything you don't do. You don't get to choose to not pay a price. You get to choose which poison you're going to take. That's it. So if you're going to stand up for something, stand up for your truth. It'll shape you because people will respond and object and tell you why you're a fool and a biased moron and why you're ignorant. And then if you listen to them, you'll be just that much less like that the next time you say something. And if you do that for 5 years, you'll be so damn tough and articulate and able to communicate and withstand pressure that you won't even recognize yourself. And then you'll be a force to contend with. And you don't get to wait until, because I get letters like Gad Saad gets all the time too, from faculty members in particular, and they say, well, you know, when I get tenure, it's like, then they think, well, when I'm an associate professor, and then they think, well, when I'm a full professor, it's like, if you're a professor already, you're like the most protected person in the history of the planet, you know, and you need, well, okay, but one of the things that indicates is that it's almost impossible to provide people with enough protection so that they feel safe to speak. Okay, so we'll address that directly. It is not safe to speak, and it never will be. But the thing you got to keep in mind is that it's even less safe not to speak, right? It's a balance of risks. It's like you want to pay the price for being who you are and stating your mode of being in the world, or do you want to pay the price for being a bloody serf, one that's enslaved him or herself? Well, that's a major price, man. That thing unfolds over decades, and you'll just be a miserable worm at the end of about 20 years of that, right? No self-respect, no power, no ability to voice your opinions, nothing left but resentment because everyone's against you, because of course you've never stood up for yourself. It's like, say what you think carefully, pay attention to your words. The price is, it's a price you want to pay if you are willing to believe that truth is the cornerstone of society. And in the most real sense, if you're willing to take that leap, then tell the truth and see what happens. And nothing better could possibly happen to you. There'll be ups and downs, and there'll be pushback, and there'll be controversy and all of that, but it doesn't matter. The truth is what makes the world, the truth is what redeems the world from hell, and that's the truth. And we saw plenty of hell over the last 100 years, you know, and we haven't learned a bloody thing from it. It's like, wake up, tell the truth, or at least don't lie. That's a start. And you got to understand that's a risk. But I have one more brief thing to say about that. So, you know, I said what I had to say back in September, and I'm sure that I could have done it better, and many people have told me how I could have done it better, although it didn't mean they would actually do it, but and, you know, my job was at risk, serious risk, for about 2 months, and it destabilized my family, who've been very brave about this. So, like, thumbs up to them, man. They've just stood by me. But here's the optimistic news, is the university has left me alone completely. I shook hands with the dean 2 weeks ago. We're on friendly terms. They don't want this to go any farther than it has already. The students were tremendously welcoming when I came back to teach in January. I haven't had a single negative incident at the university. And I've received thousands of letters from people all over the world, all of which have been in support. I've received 2 negative letters. That's it. 2. So the people have an inchoate longing to have the sort of thing that we're talking about articulated. And so don't be thinking you're alone. It's just that people can't talk, they're afraid to talk, or they don't know what to say. And those are real problems. So if you're reasonably articulate, like, start talking and sharpen yourself up. I mean, the enemy is a cloud. They're a cloud of gnats. They're only courageous in groups. They're only courageous in mobs. If you stand your ground and don't apologize and articulate things properly, they'll disperse around you like they're not even there. So most of it's illusion. So don't be afraid, but be afraid of the right thing. And the right thing you should be afraid of is not saying what you say, because that's the same as not being. And here you are, suffering away. You might as well be at the same time. At least then there's something to you.
Awesome video.
Wow.
Brings up the you could only serve one master. You know, even when we're speaking about today, about how to make these decisions, it's really finding thyself inside the now, inside that moment, and serving the master that we desire to serve. Because in each moment we have that choice. And each choice that is presented to us, it's indefinite of having that choice to make sure we serve that master. And then when we don't, we hold that energy. And then we have to deal with that energy that of the other master that we don't want to serve. And that's when the discomfort comes from, and disease. So, beautiful video, Justin. Thank you.
Yeah, and that goes back to the virtues as well, because when we shift from seeing things in the external material world to the spiritual, energetic world, everything shifts. And I know he's not aware of that, or at least he wasn't in that video. But when you do the right thing, it does send those waves out. And this goes back again to magnetism as well. Those ripples, they go out there, and you are literally protected by doing the right thing. And it's only in our mind that we get afraid, like, somebody will disapprove me, or they'll gossip about me, but that's not actually harming you. You are actually getting an incredible gift to expand your awareness, to grow in consciousness when you do the right thing. And some people might say, well, but somebody might, leave your life or say a negative thing about you, but that actually cannot hurt you. And that's just another opportunity for you to then again expand, and it's just exponential. And it's incredible when you can actually see the energy. And like Aaron was saying, if you don't do the right thing, you're gonna have that challenge come up, whether it's, all these negative thoughts or another bad situation that causes you that pain, because it's trying to push you to overcome that. And so, yeah, he's definitely right in that sense. You do get rewarded when you do the right thing.
Yeah, and I thought it tied in really well with relationships, and where are we not speaking the truth? Where are we curbing what we need to say within those moments to again, out of fear of a reaction, or how it's going to come across, and how is that it's not helping when we do that. It's only exacerbating the issue. It's as you said, JoAnne, it's spiritually adding to the problem in unseen ways, but it's building up into a greater and greater issue, instead of just being that example of truth in all moments, and trusting that truth is going to cause my relationships to grow or fade away. That's that magnetism. And so it will help elevate the relationships I do have that do need to stay, and those that are ultimately not serving me, they will start to fade away. And it's that trust that as long as I stand firmly within that, it's always going to guide me to that space, that beautiful space of abundance. Yeah, I just thought it was fitting.
I agree with what Jordan was saying there, but I have a situation where we're in quite a small community, and my wife has quite a public job, and I have to be careful what I share and when I share it, because of how something can reflect on her, and it's difficult. I feel I should have a right to say what the truth is about in any situation. But on the other hand, it doesn't benefit me or her to put her in an awkward position that she hasn't asked to be in and doesn't really need to be in. I just find that a bit difficult now to deal with sometimes, because I feel I have to keep my lips zipped up in quite a lot of situations, for her benefit. I don't know what you all think about that. It's quite an interesting balancing act sometimes. But
I can relate to you, Mark, with that. With my children in our community, it's really hard to know how far, where my boundaries are with that, because I don't want to make things harder for them. If people are looking at their mom and thinking she's a weirdo and crazy, it doesn't make them feel good. It puts a lot of pressure on them, and they're already dealing with enough. So I can kind of relate to that. And I think it goes back to the beginning when when I came on, and Justin was talking about, that knowing when to say something and knowing when to not say something. But even more, I think my favorite moments are when I feel like I'm just aligned with everything, like I'm doing all the work and I'm feeling it within myself, and I don't even need to say anything. And it's just like I'm just being, like somebody had said earlier, many people I think had said earlier, it's just like when everything is just aligned and it's just in your beingness. And then if somebody asks you something like, how did you get the way you are? Then you can then that conversation, they've opened it and you can share. But I totally get what you're saying. I think that actually for me, that's where I want to be. Like, that's what I'm reaching for, is just in my beingness. I don't even need to say much. It just is, I'm in the flow, and I'm in the flow with whoever I come in contact with. And it just is perfect. And I don't need to worry about it anymore. But that's it takes time, and it takes focus and doing the work, I think. And I think as long as you're doing that, my opinion is, as long as you and I and all of us are doing the work, that less words need to be said, and just, that energy will flow.
I think that's part of the trouble, actually, what you're saying. I'm trying to run before I could walk in some ways, and share a lot of truth when I probably need to spend more time working on myself. Going inside and
gain that understanding. When you gain that understanding, it's contagious. Like, people can feel it. I know I feel it when I find somebody who's, elevated to those levels. I'm like, ooh, you can see it. Like, you could see the energy. And those are the people that you want to be talking to anyway, because they're ready to be to have that conversation, which is cool, because everything just perfectly aligns. I think like you said, sometimes we go, I forget what that saying is, one cart before the horse, or, that's a lesson, or, lesson in itself, is just knowing when to just be. And when we're talking too much, like I'm doing probably right now, but it's just eat fruit and see what happens. And that's kind of what I did when I was sitting watching the first days. I was like, you know what? I don't, and you don't even, nobody has to agree with everything that's said all the time. That's the other thing. We don't all have to, and that's something I wish more people would understand, is just because, it's just, you like a community, you like a person, you like what they're saying, doesn't mean that you have to align with every single thing somebody says. You take the juicy parts of it that you love, and you love that about that person. And that's it. That's all we need to do. And I wish there was a more understanding of that in this world. And that's kind of what I want to help happen. And what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. But anyway, I hope that was somewhat helpful.
And it all comes down to someone said once to me, it's a difference when you have the light and you shine it in somebody else's face so they are blinded, or you shine the light on the path so they can see where they can go. And I had a transition the last year as well, where I wanted to share as much truth as possible. And during the journey of the juice fasting and going within and getting more connected and meditating, I found, well, a part of it was also being pushed by the fear within myself of being left outside of the community and disconnecting from friends. And I had some friends who I dearly love and still do, but they were all on the other side, and it was hard to see them there, and I felt I wanted to reel them in back again. And now I know they are walking their path, and just by doing the work and being the change I want to be, that will bring the change. And the people who, there was one post that really resonated with me, that's the ones who are now pushing you away might come back later for your help and assistance. And the best way I can help others is by continue my journey. So when I'm rising on a higher level, I can reach down and help them up again. But I have to do the work myself, and within every step, and there are setbacks as well. And there's, I've got, sometimes we are too hard on ourselves when we are rising on our journey and we are climbing Jacob's ladder. And it's like this. When we are rising the ladder, we think every time we encounter something, a lesson we have learned, we think, oh, well, it's here again, it's here again, it's here again. But when you look at it, you're continuing your journey, and every time you are moving a step further away from the thing you have to learn, and you go higher. And that helps me to see that with every step, even if it's a setback sometimes, and within the juicing, it's in the relationship to myself, I've learned to be more compassionate. And in that regard, I can be more compassionate to others as well.
That was really beautiful.
Well said, Patrick. It's like the putting new wine in an old wine bottle. You know, we got to purify ourselves, you know, and sometimes it's hard when we're in this journey with a loved one that you want them to journey with you, but you can't be of assistance for them if you're trying to put new wine and shove it down their old wine bottle. So it is purifying ourselves and finding our space and really resonating with that and radiating, you know, finding that place where we could radiate, be that true magnetism, so we draw those people back in. The radiation is the energy that we need to be. It's that outside ripple effect that JoAnne brought up, and it's that outward causation, that outward force that keeps us going, that attracts people from it. So yeah, beautiful, Patrick.
Yeah, and I think it's important, we keep talking about going back to the present and getting out of the mind, because we hear this, you know, speak the truth. But, you know, that can also be taken to an extreme in the mind, like every single situation, I'm going to speak up, I'm going to say something. But when you're present, you know whether you should, like Jennifer said, just be quiet or say something. Maybe it's not the right moment. So you should let your higher intelligence guide you. Just be very calm, breathing. You'll know exactly what to say. And there are many ways to, you know, express yourself honestly. And I think we have to look at where we're coming from in certain situations, because, if, for example, my husband listened to some information that I thought was wrong or was propaganda, I immediately thought I had to pounce on it and tell him the truth or convince him or show him. And I realized that's my own fear, thinking if he believes this, it's somehow going to affect me, which it can't, unless I go into this and start acting in a non-virtuous way. And so if something comes up, I will say honestly how I feel. I know we were just talking once about going to Mars. And he said, "Yeah, I'm going to travel to Mars." And I'm just thinking like, yeah, okay. But, and so I said like, well, I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think Mars is what they say it is. And I didn't need to prove anything like, well, do you know that the Earth is like this and that NASA is this? And, like there's a way to speak the truth without trying to shove this belief system and what you know to be right onto the other person. You can still speak honestly without, I don't know if I'm expressing it well, but you don't have to go into everything and just be like, oh, this is my chance, I'm going to convince the person. But I still was authentic to myself. I didn't go along with it. I didn't agree. I didn't just shut up and be like, I was like, no, I'm going to say something and express myself honestly, but I don't need to push this onto the other person. But I'm also not going to lie and say, yeah, go to Mars, let's go, like that didn't, in that situation, that didn't feel right for me. So I didn't do that. But again, you have to be so present, because every situation is different. Every person is different. There is no rule book. There is no black or white. The mind really wants to, have this guidebook and these rules and these strict things to follow, but it just doesn't work like that. But there are many ways to speak the truth, and you will know what to do when you're present and when you're not letting all your charges and your fear get in the way.
It's very hard not to speak out in some situations, but my wife likes to wake up to the news on the BBC and in the morning, and to me that's just you're just waking up to pure propaganda. It's awful, but she enjoys finding out her information like that, and I just have to remove myself from it. It's because she ends up just switching off, saying, "Oh, you just say something if I leave it on," but that's not fair to her. If she wants to listen to it, she's entitled to listen to it. But,
yeah, I totally relate. Yeah, because he'll still listen to podcasts and movies and TV shows, and I'm just hearing all this crazy stuff and all the propaganda that is not seen. And it used to really bother me. And so something I have done previously is, either leave the room or ask, can you wear headphones when you listen to this? And it's all about me. It's not like you're wrong for listening to this. This is wrong. It's I'm having an issue with this and I need, can you do this for me? But yeah, I totally get it. And until you deal with that fear inside of yourself, like now it's funny, I can be present when a movie or a TV show's on and there can be all this lies and propaganda, and I just smile and I see that it's the divine working perfectly through that for him. And I don't need to feel afraid, which I used to really feel afraid. I don't need to stop it. But it took a long time to get there. I used to always try and manipulate the situation and be coercive and try and put little digs and try and wake him up, and that's just horrible. Like, so now there's so much peace around that. It's like you can listen to whatever horror. I mean, thankfully it's not the news. That might be more challenging, but you can get to that point where you're unaffected by it, and that's true freedom that only comes from within you.
Yeah, and a helpful tip that you can kind of use, if you and this varies from each individual and the specific relationship, but if you feel that your relationship is in a space to do this, what you can do is you can ask them if they're wanting to hear something that you have to share. You can say, hey, like, do you want to hear something more about what's going on here, or my thoughts with what's happening? And that gives them the opportunity to ask for it and say, yeah, I do want to hear. I am curious what you've got, because maybe they didn't know that you've got something to share in that regard. But you do also have to hear when they say no, and say, okay, that's great. But just opening that space up allows them to see it, to know that you bring something forward, to you're being transparent, that you do have something that you want to share, but you're also recognizing that they're of their own free will, and they need to ask for it in order for that to be reciprocated. But it just helps to create that space and showing that you're respecting them for their space if they want to stay in there, but you're also inviting them to learn more if they do want to be in that. So it's just kind of a helpful way to open that dialogue. Again, you have to be cognizant on the intention behind it. You know, if I'm constantly asking someone, hey, do you want to know about this? Do you want to know about that? Do you want to know about this? Then I'm using it in a manipulative way, and that's going back into this fear-based decision of like really trying to steer someone into that, and that's not okay. But every now and again it depends on the relationship, but if that space is available, you can try that and just say, hey, I learned something about this the other day. Do you want to hear about it? Like, and just take it from there, you know.
The beauty around all of that too is that it's building such respect within your relationship. So it's, it's just beautiful all the way around.
Yeah, it's so freeing when you get to that point where you see it all as perfect and your mind just calms down and stops judging it all, and you finally have peace. It's amazing, but it's possible. Go ahead.
Yeah, when we are in this, when we are in that state of trying to convince the other, everything from the left brain is something trying to overcome. And when we are in the spaces, just as Justin said, when you are open and you are connecting from your heart to the other, then it's come over instead of overcoming. And the greatest struggle with what you can feel when you are coming from a place of manipulation, when the feedback you get, it's just all feedback we get. You feel that it doesn't feel right. There is no real connection. And somebody said to me, the greatest struggle we experience is because we want the things that are not here, and we don't want the things that are here. So the moment we connect to the present, we are here and we can experience whatever comes in front of us.
That's right. And I'm sorry, I forgot her name, who left already.
Annie.
Annie?
Mm-hmm.
Annie. In her poem, she was talking about that connection with God. I mean, when you have that connection, those things fall away. That needing, we don't want what we don't have, and needing what we, all of that. It's just everything flows, and we have what we need when we're really truly connected. And we don't have, you still have desire, but it's, it's not a desperation anymore. It's a healthy desire. Everything is healthy. All your relationship to things and people and everything becomes so much healthier when we really reach that level of connection with our creator. I really believe that. And that's what I heard in her poem. That was really beautiful. So just wanted to share that. And I remembered what I was talking about before when I was first listening to this community. And I was talking about how, we don't have to believe everything somebody says. We could just still love the things that we hear are possibly true, and test them out for ourselves. And when I was listening, I started just eating fruit while I was listening. I was like, oh, fruit. Oh, fruit. Okay. I love fruit. I'll just start eating. And I was literally, that's how I started. It was just one day watching and eating fruit. And I realized after like a week, I didn't stop. Like I was like, I'm pretty much eating only fruit and it feels so good. And I was really feeling it. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to do this until it doesn't feel good. If it doesn't feel good, then I'm not going to do it. And I just kept doing it. And it was like, oh, okay. And it was a real lesson for me in judgment, because so many people judge based on their fear. They don't know. But if you experience something and just see it through for yourself, be willing to try and see it through. And then, you know, if it works, it's awesome. And it's working for so many people. So just wanted to add that too.
Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, so this has been a fantastic discussion today. We really have gone into some good areas. I did want to start wrapping up, but I wanted to give everyone an opportunity to go around and say any closing thoughts or share any insight that you might have come on at the last minute here. So Patricia, we haven't heard from you in a second. What do you want to share some closing thoughts?
Just want to say thank you so much for everyone that shared. I resonate with everything, and I just feel such a newbie, like really such a baby here, and that's, I feel like that's okay. I'm okay with that, because I want to learn everything that I'm hearing, you know, and with you know, Jennifer was saying about, you know, doing the work, and you know, that's what, you know, this community, this beautiful community, has taught me about doing the work and the truth and speaking the truth, having discernment, learning. I'm just starting to learn virtues and like really understanding. And when I speak, and when I really want to speak, it's about like really not to think it through too much, but to feel it. And is it coming from fear or is it love? And it's been challenging. I'm going to say it's been challenging, and it needed to challenge me. I see that it's all about having that connection, like consciousness, and within and with God, and just, you know, that piece of like wanting to belong, you know, always wanting to belong somewhere, whether it was in community, relationship, my family, anywhere. And what it comes down to is a relationship with myself, with God. And it's come so full circle with everything now. And I'm just so grateful to all who shared, because I'm here and I'm learning, and I want to be just within all of you in any way that God shows me I'm supposed to be. And my heart really wants to get down south, but I'm here. I'm just going to trust. When it's ready, I'm ready, right? And thank you for allowing me to exercise my throat chakra. I appreciate that. And yeah, I was going to say, like, since the awakening, there's been a lot of shadow work that's been revealed to me, and that has a lot to do with communication, the truth, and it comes back down to the trauma in my childhood, and where it has rippled through everything. But I feel right now I'm in such a great place to move forward, keep doing the work, the juicing. All of that has been major in so much transformation and clarity, and just being able just to sit with self and sit in the love, than having to react. I'm responding so much better. And thank you, Justin, and thank you, JoAnne and Aaron and Jennifer and Patrick and Mark and Annie that held space here, and the rest of the family that is all a part of our community. Thank you. I love you all. Thank you.
You're perfect, Patty. Thank you so much for being here. We love you so much, so much. And you say you're a newbie, but I don't see you as such. I see you as just a perfect shining example, sharing vulnerably for all to see. And you have no idea who you touch by showing up as you are. So just keep showing up. Keep showing up. We love you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Mark, you want to share some closing comments?
I just want to say thanks for inviting me on to be on here. I was quite surprised to be invited, and I appreciate that. I was quite nervous about doing it, but I've seen the other videos you do and how kind you all are to each other. I thought, well, why not? So yeah, thank you, and keep up the good work with that.
Thanks, brother. So glad you made it. So glad you shared. Thank you for showing up. Appreciate you. All right, Jennifer.
I'm so glad I joined today. Thank you so much for having me, Justin. This is awesome. I'm just blown away that I'm surrounded and in the company of so many amazing, beautiful, light beings. And I appreciate each and every one of you for all that you shared, your vulnerabilities. You know, this is not easy work. It's not easy to share. It's not, you know, it makes us feel really uncomfortable, but it also, as you know, it's more about the anticipation of it all, you know, what people think and just being different. And I really believe, Justin, thank you for holding this space so that we can exercise this throat chakra, because it's so important. And I am fearful of doing it often. But it feels so good to do it. And Patricia, what you just said, everything you just said, it just totally resonates, especially like you said something about the truth and feeling it. Like, we know we're there when you could feel it, but you have to be willing to try it to feel it, you know? And so that's the beauty of this, is everything that I've tried, you know, this is an adventure. This is so exciting too. It's an adventure and it's fun. It's juicy, but yeah, it's scary because it is different, but that's what everybody's wanting out there. I mean, all the people that are pushing against, I really believe they want the same things. We all want the same things. It's just that there's so many layers of fear, and it's just a reminder that I constantly remind myself, and I reminded the young lady I was with yesterday, is to remember to breathe deep. Like, we really need to remember to breathe and do the work, and that's it. So thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for being here, Jennifer. Thank you for sharing. Oh, wow. We're so lucky to have you. So appreciate you. Love you so much.
I love you too so much.
All right, Patrick, you want to share some closing comments?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for everybody holding space and sharing. It's every time a delight to be among you, and yeah, I feel really touched. And I wanted to make one closing comment on the comparison. When you are looking where somebody else is, you still have to overcome something. And we are all learning. We are all on our own path, and we all have to take the next step on that path. And when we stop comparing with each other and look out next to us, we walk each other home. We are all walking the path, but we are walking together to get her. And in that regard, no matter where you are just starting juicing or just learning, and we all have to overcome ourselves in order to rise. And just be kind to yourself in the process. And compared to a child, when a child is learning to walk, you don't stand next to the child and say, well, you stupid, you have to rise and you have to be quicker, you have to walk faster. No, you embrace it and you just let it continue on its own journey, and you applaud when it has made the next step. And with regards to ourselves, we tend to beat ourselves up because we are not like the other, or we are not as far as we want to be. And the moment we can connect to where we are and be appreciative of everything we learn and we continue on our way, it's a divine journey.
Wow. Patrick, I'm always just blown away by your wisdom. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being you. It's truly amazing. Wow. Aaron, what you got for us, brother?
Yeah, again, thank you for holding space and allowing this place to happen so we can be present and share presence with everybody. It is the growth that we are able to do and help each other along this journey without overextending our own energy that we're having. As JoAnne was speaking earlier, as we go down this spiritual journey, it's really tapping into the energy, and not only inside of ourselves, but the universe itself as well. And have an understanding that we're in control of the energy that we interchange with. So as we go through these experiences with our relationships with ourselves, as Justin brought up at the beginning of the show, Ichabod, mentioned that relationship with ourselves. Well, that's the same thing as putting wine in an old wine bottle. We have to have that relationship with ourselves, understanding the energy that who we are energetically. And then we can make that clear decision of what energy that we want to exchange with, whether it's a thought passing through and we could see it and observe it. Because if we are a true observer, we are looking at everything as one. Or if it's something that we're having an exchange with a physical being, we still have that choice of what energy we want to absorb, what energy that we want to put out. And also going back to the acceptance, accepting ourselves for where we are in this journey. Not looking that we should be somewhere else, and not looking at other people and accepting them and honoring, the close ones that we have around us. So we love them so much, so dearly. We want them to grow with us, but we really got to accept their journey and honor their journey from where they are and support them when they need the support, and not always try to force them into the position or the knowing or the gnosis that we're gaining. And then also the child, like we brought up, like the child a lot. And that's what we're really doing. We need to bring back basically that onion. We're this like void in the middle of everything. And our experiences have created this onion that we have all these layers. And what we're doing is we're peeling this onion back. So each layer that we still have layers inside to do. And the way to get around that is just be that childlike inside of us and bring that child that we grew out of. And now we started to adult and we have all these responsibilities. And that's not our true self. True self is that childlike. And anybody that has kids or see kids around, they could care less. They're so happy all the time, no matter what happens. And even if something doesn't go the way that was planned, they bounce right into the new energy that's there for them. So, and then the word truth, we put the in front of truth a lot. I mean, the is a conditional word. So as we work on our words and how we say and how we speak, we really got to think about how we look at it. Truth, because truth is only one, just like God. It's not the God, it's not my God, it's God. So there is only truth. There's not the truth. So that's it. I love everybody here. Love that everybody's showing up, bringing their presence. Everybody in the chat room. Just amazing that we're really growing and taking this thing really by the reins, and we're really doing it, and showing up for everybody and being that raw, vulnerable, naive child that we truly are, and not caring about expectations or how somebody's going to take us, because we're here to shine, and if somebody doesn't like it, it's not my problem. I'm truth. So I love you all so much.
So well said, Aaron. Thank you. Love you so much, brother. Appreciate you. All right, JoAnne.
Well, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for being on the call, and everyone in the chat for showing up and putting forth the effort to do this work. That's so, so important. And huge thank you to Justin for making this happen. When I came to you with this wild idea, you're like, let's do it. And being the tech master, so smooth with the transitions of the full screen and everything, making it happen. So thank you so much. And yeah, let's just keep going within. That's where all the answers are, and everything's going to be okay. Try to move from your head into your heart. And, if you're struggling with your family or friends, and they're making decisions and you don't get why, they must be so scared to be doing the things that they're doing. Try to have some compassion for them and give them a hug and just love them and be that light and continue to grow. And it's all going to be okay. And I hope we can keep this conversation going and keep helping each other, holding each other's hand as we go through this. And we will get there. We are getting there. We actually already are there. We're just peeling the onion, as Aaron said. So let's keep peeling. You're all doing so great. So thank you, everyone.
Wow, love you, sister. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, JoAnne mentioned it, and I didn't even have to think. Take no thought. I was like, "Yep, that's it. That's the sign. That's the call. Let's do this show." And I'm so honored. I'm so honored to help put it together and to share this space and to really just converse about a topic that we all hold near and dear to us. And it goes back to the grand conspiracy of them all. Like, what is organized society trying to do? And they're trying to disconnect us. And it's not necessarily a they. It's an aspect of ourselves that we have to learn and grow past. But we're playing with that separation illusion. We're playing with that being separate from God. We're playing with being separate from each other, being separate from ourselves, being disconnected. So the going in the right path, going down that straight and narrow, is to cultivate those connections and do it in every possible way. So the more that we bring in these kind of conversations, the more that we can cultivate those connections and really get back to what we're here to do. So yeah, I'm so honored to be here in this place. And as has been mentioned, we will likely be making this a series, hopefully getting this conversation and keeping it going. I don't know how often we're going to do that. We'll talk about that later on. But I would love to. Oh, we got a drawing from Aaron here. Beautiful. Yeah, the straight and narrow path. That's it. But yeah, so we will keep y'all posted on when we will do the next one. And if anyone else would love to be in this conversation, we'd love to get more people involved. And, we can have people come back onto the show as well, to just talk about their experience and things like that. But I think it's a really important conversation to keep going. And on that note, and for all of y'all who so I've got JoAnne and Aaron's links to their YouTube channels in the show notes. I believe they're both going to be uploading a copy of this video to their channels. So if you have not subscribed to both of them, please do so, because JoAnne is just dropping like nuggets of wisdom, like daily almost. It seems like she's just rapid fire pumping them out, and it's such good stuff of just really breaking down the virtues in such a really powerful way, so that it's very relatable, talking about relationships and just sharing openly and helping people to relate with this kind of stuff. So JoAnne's fantastic, and then Aaron is compiling a whole bunch of stuff, and he's about to dive a little bit further into it as well. So make sure you check out his channel. Both of them are just wealth fountains of information, fountains of knowledge and gnosis. So I'd highly recommend it. And then for anyone else on the call, if y'all do, I know Patrick, we spoke earlier, and he's thinking about starting a channel at some point. If anyone has a channel and they want me to include it in the show notes or talk about it, I'm more than happy to, because the more that we exercise our throat chakra, it's all about crossing the throat, crossing the fiction, getting away from the physical, the 5 physical below, into the 6th, the 6th, and then God brings the 7th. But that's a very vital step, is to clear the throat, to exercise that throat chakra. So any way that you can do it. And I thought that video was a very tangible reminder of ways that we can exercise our throat chakra and speak the truth, regardless of who it offends or who it upsets. We speak the truth, and that's just where we yeah, that's how we step into this. But it's a powerful step. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for doing that, because this energetic ripple is truly spectacular. I can see it. I can see it so clearly. So yeah, with that, I will go ahead and close out. Thank you all so much for being here. We love you so much, and we'll talk to you next time.